Hey everyone, welcome to this video picking up where we left off last working on our Lotus Yoga app, building it here in Bubble. Last time we finished off this poses page where we could click in to some extra uh, learning tools for people that are doing their yoga classes where they can learn some poses. Now, one thing I want to update from the last class is that I actually went into we finished by building out and putting the poses next to a class that they might be in. That's not something they actually do over here in the actual app, Lotus app that we're copying. So I removed those because it was, just kind of a quick thought. I think it's, if you built the app, it's probably a pretty good idea to associate the poses like, hey, these are the building blocks that make up all the stuff for this yoga class. Could be helpful. But just if you are following along, building in your bubble interface to get caught up with where mine is so that we're in the exact same setup, just go on over to the class preview group and delete that other thing, and then make sure you bring this collapser back up to this info thing, info box, and we should be good to go. So that being said, what are we going to do here today in this video? Well, in this one, we are going to design a functional search box as well as a little bit of, because let's see how this looks from a visual standpoint. Note that it looks like it's floating, right? Like when you scroll up, this stays put. So we don't have that functionality right now on our poses page. When we scroll down, the whole thing scrolls. So we'll want to build, first off, we'll want to build that floating part, which we've done in, let's see, over here in the plans page. So we have experience doing this, and we'll do that. And then I think it's really valuable to learn how do you do a search box, because that's something really common in many apps. So we'll get to learn that. And then I have one last comment that I want to make about the poses page. Like there's this favorite button up here, and how would you, we've already worked with filters over here in this classes page, like when we filter acro yoga, but I just want to show off. I will take a 2-minute detour here over in the poses group, and to say that you could set a state so that if that button was clicked, states that we've set before, right? You could have a default to, empty and or not clicked. And then when it is clicked, you could take that state and say, instead of searching for yoga poses, actually, there's two things you need to do. First off, over in the data, underneath the users, we have a yoga favorite list. This should actually be, and this is classes. So these are favorite classes. We'll call this favorite class list. You would create one that is yoga favorite pose list. And then any pose, you would add that same favorite functionality that we added for the classes. You would add that for the individual poses. So the ability to, this little heart icon, the ability to, we didn't go so far as to add additional information when we get into this actual pose, but you're very capable at this point, having watched this video, to know you would add an icon, you would set up the workflows, and if someone clicked that, you would update the users. This yoga favorite, it would be created a new field, a yoga favorite. And I don't want to take the full step of making this. We're just not going to do that here. But you would go down and you would make that data type poses. It's a list. It's exactly the same as what we already did with this favorite one. And then you would, in this area, when that is clicked, you would say the conditional when, let's say, what's one that has a state? I think the plans page has a state. Plans group menu toggle is, I forget what those ones are. Let's say joined, maybe, perhaps is one of them. But you would have a new state that you set for this. So when that favorite button, which is, I'm speaking about this one here in the top right corner of this screen, when that is clicked, you would say that the data source is now current users, not this favorite class list, but the favorite pose list that you would create. So then you're only seeing that data, you're only seeing the list of favorites that the person has, when that filter is triggered. So cool, just a little quick sidetrack to note that. That is how you would do that. We're not going to build it out in this video. This video is about the search box. So let's go and see what we need to do to get this search box. I'm going to go ahead and start just by moving this down a bit, give us some room to work with up here. Now, we've already built a floating plans floating tab menu. So we've already built this. And there's one change I want to make quick, is that I'm just going to set this to 1 pixel, so that when the scrolling right away when it starts, the background color is this dark color. So it's basically it starts floating right away as soon as somebody starts scrolling. So that's just one update to make. And then now, so I will just go ahead and copy and paste this new one in, set it at 0, 0, give it a name. This is about poses, floating. It is a header and search. And then it shows up only when the URL nav parameter here is poses. So here we're on the poses page to navigate over. I'm just going to refresh that. So that's pretty cool. We've got that set up. Basically, we've got the framing set up, right? We've got the framing for what this needs to hold. And I think we want to make this a touch bigger. Let's try 140. And then now we can kind of look at between these two. So this poses group, it has this text yoga. We can actually delete that because we've already got it in another duplicate of that. We can take this button and let's do copy with workflows. Actually, I could just take this. Before I do that, I want to see what so it's 515. Okay, cool. I need to pull it out of this poses group. The poses group is like this whole area we're working in. So, and then I turn that off. So now I can pull it into here. I think I said 515 for our XY, where it sits. And then what else? This thing, cut. And I didn't do the cut and paste with the other one because it had workflows associated with it. So this is 140. The height of this group here is 24. So 116 is where I want to place that. There. Cool. So that's looking good. I think I want to bring this up just a touch because we need to put a search box here. So I'm going to start out with a group and I think I'm just going to make this group the whole width of this. And why am I doing that? because I want to put some icons. Like I want to put an icon here, and then I want to put a search box. And the group, having a group helps with the responsiveness. So that, like, if you go onto a wider screen, the icon, the search box will stretch out a bunch, and then the icon might like move just a tiny bit, and all of a sudden it could be like halfway outside of, it could overlap halfway outside of the search box, halfway in, and we do not want that. So I'm going to give this thing a height of, see, I think I want my search box like maybe 35-ish. So let's go 39, because then we can have 2 above and below. I think everything looks pretty good here. And then let's remove the background color. So, okay, so how do we make a search box? Well, we start by grabbing an input. We just make sure that we do it inside of here. And the style, the background color for this is 121212. So now we've exactly matched with it. We don't want a border, but so we've exactly matched with it, and so then we'll just bring it up a touch to something lighter. And I want to make this, let's start out with 2, no wait, well, whatever. Say 35-ish. And have it come out to maybe here. I think that's what I want. I think. And center it vertically. Let's say search poses. Yeah, input search poses. Let's grab an icon that we can use for a little search. Okay. Probably make this icon the same as, let's see, got that search. I actually think it's hard to see. And their layout, we're gonna, all right. We're gonna add some spacing here. We're gonna grab this icon. We're gonna center it. No, first I want to size it. Say probably 25 by 25 is good enough. We will center that vertically first. Bring it over. Just mouse it over. And then, what is the color of this text? This is the background color. The 2424. The text color. That's awfully light. I'm gonna make it, I guess it's fine. But take that same one and then grab the group QZ. I'm going to name this group search bar. This is the search icon. And I'm going to make this, I still have it copied. So now paste the color to match. Actually, yeah, that looks way too light. So maybe we take that and also update this. And then I'm going to grab this icon and I'm going to do a thing, bring to front. I think I want to move it over a little bit more. I want to move this text over a little bit more. 1, 2, 3. And then I want to add some roundedness to this. So it's 35 high. If I add roundedness of 10, That's 20. If I can find the roundedness. Here we go. So just to note that that's not fully round, or that's not kind of how we see normal search boxes. Actually, that's how they did theirs. I think it looks better, just a preference thing. If you go roundedness of 20, that makes the roundedness to 40, so it kind of like makes sure you've got a real circlish kind of feel here. And oh yeah, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center this search box horizontally. I think I'm going to make it wider too. I just kind of plopped it on there, if you recall. So yeah, so I'm going to make it the full 280. Is that 20? But I still will use this center horizontally feature because I think that helps with the responsiveness. And center vertically. Okay, cool. So we're looking pretty good. Poses. All right. Next up, how do we connect this with? How do we connect when someone types stuff in here? How do we connect that with this? What's going on here? Well, basically, right now we just search for all the poses. Is how this works. But if I add a conditional here that says when, what's the name of that? Input search poses. Yeah, when it's when the value is not empty, which means somebody's typing something in there. Then I want to change the data source of this to, what do I want to change the data source to? I want to change the data source where the values of the, so do a search for what kind of data? Poses. Where the name, well, actually, I'm gonna take 1 second to do something, or to note something, is that if I put in here, you know, they're gonna look for the name of this, where it contains, let's try this, where it contains the thing I was saying that I wanted to note is that basically there's a few ways to do this, and I think this is good enough for now. So the name contains the, what is that thing? It's a input searches value. Okay, so just to reiterate, hope that this is clear, because I'm kind of, I feel like I'm kind of stream of consciousness, chatting away at what it is that we're doing here. But so here's what we're doing. When that input is not empty, meaning somebody's typing a search into there, then I want to do a new data source for this, where if the name of the pose, if it contains what they're searching for, then show it and then sort by name, because why not, for the sorting. So let's go ahead and see what we got. Basically, if we type the word pose, then we should see all of them, because the name in this search, the name contains pose in all of them. But if we were to type Archer, for example, so just kind of checking out, interesting. I guess it was just part of the page load. That back button doesn't seem to be working. but we're not super concerned with that at the moment. We're more looking at this. So search poses. Gosh, that's light. So if I want to search for pose, okay, and that is not offset very nicely. How about camel? All right, so a few things to fix. One is the conditional, and then two is that the placement of the text there. I'm just going to check one thing, and I'll be back. Okay, I remembered what it is that I wanted to do to change. So, and actually I noticed with this condition that we have for the, so it is working. I realized it's so exact is the issue. So name contains input, search, poses, value. So why was it that when we typed poses before, it didn't work? So I typed pose. If you can't even see, I apologize. I'm going to just zoom in here. You can see pose. And so that's something we got to fix. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. But I want to note this, that when I capitalize pose, we get what we want. When I capitalize Archer, delete all of that. Archer, we get just the Archer ones. So we get it as we expect it. However, if I say Archer not capitalized for the search, then nothing. So we got some UI user interface fixes, and then there is a plugin that's going to help us with that issue of not capitalizing things because it's looking for something so exact, because that's just kind of how computers do their thing. So first off, what I want to do in this if I can open it up, is I want to take this search group bar. So the issue is I am forcing, just going to remove that because it makes it look weird. I am forcing this over, and then I cannot force it over when something is typed. So what I need to do is take the styling of this, which we've got a flat color of 2424. So I'm going to copy that. What do we got here? We got 280 by 35. So, and then some roundness. I'm actually going to remove the roundness, and you'll see in a second. I'm going to remove the background style. I'm going to bring this down a little bit for the input. And then I'm going to take this group. I'm going to make it 280. And then I'm going to center horizontally. And this is the group that I'm going to style. So I'm going to give it not a border, but a roundness of, let's see, it's 39. I guess, yeah, we'll go 40 for our height. Here we'll go 0, 40. All right, so let's get this. Yeah, that's a pretty good height. Let's find the background style. Flat color, this. So there you can see now we've got that what looks like a search box, but it's actually the group. And I'm going to take this thing center vertically, and then I'm going to nudge it over a little bit, and then stretch this input so it's right next to it. So in my responsive world, what's happening? Well, this thing, it is not fixed width. This one is not fixed width. I don't need a max because this thing will just follow right along with the group. And then this thing I do want fixed width because it's just a small little thing. I don't need that changing. And I think I want to make this 38. And I want to make this group also a height of 38. And then I can delete this search poses. This is, we're not submitting a form, so we don't need it to ever be invalid, is what that conditional was about. So, all right, so that should fix our UI. So let's check that, and then we'll fix the part about it needing to be so exact. Cool. So that's a pretty good looking search box. You know, I think the input could be a little bit higher, but call it good. And then let's check this out on, yeah, looks pretty good there. And looks good there. Yeah, so you can see our icon stayed in a good spot. The responsiveness of this spread this out, and looking good. So, search poses. I think that we need a lighter color there, just so it's easier. How about let's go camel? Okay, not sure what's going on there, but let's see. All right, so what did I change? I took away the conditional. When no, I didn't take away the conditional. We're looking at here, this repeating group. Okay, I'm just getting a message about my internet connection. I'll be right back. Gonna refresh. Okay, so turns out it was just an internet issue for why the search box wasn't working. Just right before I paused it. So that's good news. It's like, wait, our whole thing is not even working anymore. So, but again, we notice there's two things I want to do. Yeah, that text gets a little bit dark. Yeah, and so when I search Archer without a capital A, but when I search it with a capital A, I do get it. So we'll take care of that. But I just want to add a quick, so I'm over here on this input. I'm going to define a condition that when this input is focused, which means it's clicked into, I want the font color. Yeah, so I want the font color. Let's see, which of these? Yeah, 6363, 6363. So that should maintain it, you know, as that lighter font that we see. So let's double check that, and then we'll dive into finally Archer. Okay, that's really interesting. I don't know why it's not doing that, but let's just pick a lighter color. We'll just kind of like brute force it. Okay. All right, a little bit lighter, good enough. Go here. I'll just assume that that's light enough. And then let's move on to making this so that it doesn't have to be so exact when basically what's happening is it's doing a search for, no, it's the conditional. It's when there's someone's doing a search, that value is not empty. It's going to go out and look for poses where the name contains that value of what the person has typed into the search box. But so there is a plugin that has been made to basically handle this. And that plugin is called Fuzzy Search. So I'm going to do a search here for fuzzy. And this, for some reason, the plugins area, there's so much data in here that it takes a second. Yeah, you can see Chrome kind of almost timing out. So these guys, Zero Code, if you have not come across them, they are awesome. They've got a lot of templates. They've been in the game for a long time. They're really, really great development shop. So we're going to install their plugin, which is free. Amazing. Super helpful. Okay. Now it was a little bit laggy. I clicked twice. I hope I didn't uninstall it. I think I'm good. Yes. So let's check it out. Basically, we're going to scroll down and look for a thing called search and autocorrect. Yes. And then I'm going to drop this onto the page. And let's see. Here we are, search and autocorrect. So I'm going to call this the fuzzy search element, just so I know what it is. And cool. So it's got some options here that we can pick from. Basically, we're working with poses here, right? So we know that our data type is going to be the yoga pose. That's what we want to search for. We want to do the same thing that the repeating group is doing, where we do a search for poses. And we want to search the name field. And yeah, we want our text to match this input. And so basically this element that we put on the page, and then this fuzzy search thing. Now, if you remember, we exposed this, it's a funny word to use for just making this available, an ID attribute option on these option panels. So it should already be checked on. If it's not, it's under your settings, general, yeah, expose the option to add an ID attribute to, and that is checked. All right, so that's where I got that language from. That's kind of a funny thing. Okay. All right. So what are we doing with that ID attribute? Well, we're going to call it the fuzzy search, fuzzy dash search, and we're going to do the same over here in this fuzzy search element for the ID. So what does this do? This basically says, hey, we're going to use this plugin on this search box with the setup that we have here. We're going to search for yoga poses. We're going to search the name field. You know, you could, I guess you could put a couple different fields here, right? Like, I don't think it, you know, if you had a list of like people that were in a company, or a list of a bunch of companies and a bunch of people, or, you know, like some kind of different other search thing, maybe you could search a couple of different fields. So, but we don't need to do that. Now, the last thing we need to do is that the conditional on here, the data source is saying to look for this. But what we actually want, the data source, we want to search for clear expression. We want the data source to be that fuzzy things. We want it to be the matches that it finds. Right, so it's going to, you know, when we start typing in here, this element will start kind of working, this fuzzy thing. Oh, can't seem to click it. That's because there's an HTML element here as well. No worries. Yeah, so as I was saying, what this chain of logic does is that the fuzzy search matches that this thing finds in the element here. Basically, long explanation, but who cares if it really works, right? That's all we're looking for. So we've got our search box. We should now expect, oh yeah, there's one other thing. There's a setting on here, fuzzy search element. There's a setting for, why is it fuzzy? Well, this threshold thing is 0.6. It goes from 0 to 1. 0 meaning it's got to be exact, and 1 it's like, you could type XYZ QWERTY or whatever, and it will still return everything. But let's see, Archer. Yeah, so there we were able to type even just and then camel. So see, it's sensitivity, it even came back on. So I think we actually want to bring this down to, say, I don't know, like 0.3 or something. And then that should do it. So if we had a list of like 40 of these, what it would be doing is making it much quicker for someone to find. They're like, oh, that that one headstand pose or something we don't have. So head doesn't work for headstand, but camel works and archer works. I don't even have to. I've kind of messed it up, and it knows. That's what's great about that plugin. Again, shout out to Zero Code. Those guys are great. And yeah, so this is what hooks us up with the search element. So now, to recap, you could build this in many different ways, and you could display, here we're displaying poses. Someone could search classes. Basically search boxes are just filters, and many ways to do that, but we're doing it with this fuzzy search matches as our data source in the repeating group. So, we are working with poses. It could be anything. So now you know how to work with searches. Great, right? Empowering. You're a master of, I was going to say disaster, but that's not what we're going for here. You're a master of the bubble world and coding development. So cool. Let's think what we need. Yeah, I noticed the back button wasn't working. Oh, so I wonder, it's got that set up. What if I bring it to the front? Will that do enough? Yeah, it could have just been behind this yoga logo where I was clicking it in terms of its, being stacked. So yes. All right, cool. So in our last few videos, we've gotten some favorites working. We've got the poses working. We've got a nice, what do you call it? Floating menu thing here. You know what? I think I want to make a little bit of space. Nah, not important. Underneath this poses, so it's not so dramatic, but I think it's fine. Yeah, so thanks for joining for this video. Hope you guys have found something valuable. If you have, please give it a like. Please give it a subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Really helps me out. Appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video.